for the next hour, we're going to be centering in on the views topic within Revit, which can obviously be a very big topic. So first off, just a little bit about me, a little bit about my background. I've been working with an Autodesk VAR for 19 of the last 20 years. I actually started using Revit when Autodesk purchased it. So that was back in early 2002. I've also worked as a BIM manager for a large national firm. I've supported both the MEP and architectural side since 2001. I've got the most certifications by an individual in Minnesota and continue to add to that. So always try to stay on top of things with regards to Autodesk products and Revit specifically. Also, I love Legos and Star Wars. I'll always be buying new Legos every month. Just went to the Lego store yesterday. But it wasn't a Star Wars set. So let's get into what we're here for. So we are looking at the use of views within Revit and how they can be controlled a little bit better while working in a project. For some of you, maybe you've been working in Revit for a while, maybe some of you are a little bit newer. Sometimes it can get to be a little bit overwhelming in projects, especially the larger projects when it comes to views. So we want to be able to get into a project, be able to get to the right types of views, be able to create views correctly, and make them more usable for you and other people that are on your team. So a few of the things that we're going to take a look at in this webinar. We want to understand what we can actually do with the view, some of the different options that we have with it. We also want to take a look at how we can go in and develop views in your project. There's a number of types of views and different ways of creating them. We want to learn how to go in and manage views within your project. We're going to take a look at the project browser and how we can control how that looks while you're in a project. So obviously that's going to affect how your views show within the browser. And then also, when should we remove views from a project? So sometimes, again, you can have too many views. When's it time to go in and remove views from a project? And what views can we remove from a project? So first off, what exactly can we do with a view? So, you know, again, for some of the experienced people, few of you know some of these options within here, others maybe not so much. First thing is just simply naming conventions. You know, being able to call a view something specific, something that is relevant to the project, relevant to all the users of a project, so that they understand what type of view that they're clicking on. A few things to consider when coming up with a naming convention for your company is phases, view type, so like a floor plan, RCP, elevation, the intended use. And what I mean by that is, you know, is it a lighting plan? Is it a power plan, HVAC, plumbing? Then we can go into, you know, the level or specific sub-level, and then possibly a location. And these obviously can be different per company, but those are some of the things that you want to consider when you're naming your views. Also, it's going to come into play how big that project is. You know, when you get into the levels, sub-levels, locations, you know, Is it a hospital that you're working with different wings? Um, Obviously, you want to spell out that information as much as possible when you're getting into your naming conventions. The next thing is the view types. So when you click on a view, all views have a type. So when you click on a view, you look at your properties, look at your type selector, you'll see that there is a type attached to it. So what a lot of companies will do within maybe a starter template or starter project is they will go in and create different types of view types. With that, you can go in and subcategorize them. So it puts a little bit of order into it within the browser, the project browser. So just helps a little bit more with sorting if you decide to do more with the view types. The next thing is a big thing, and I've done a webinar specifically on this, and it is the view templates. So not only just a great way to organize your views, make them more consistent, but obviously you can expand upon that and show your views specifically for that particular instance. If it is a discipline specific, you're going to show those types of items within there. But you can also control where a view is going to be placed within the project browser by setting up the view templates as well and getting those organized and plugged into each of the different types of views that you have in your project. Now, while you're working in a view, benefits that you might have are being able to tile views. So keyboard shortcut, easy item is just simply WT to tile the views that you have active. Now, one thing I do ask for people to be careful with is if you have too many views, if you have 16 different views open, you're going to get 16 little tiles of views showing all at one time. So you want to typically maybe have 2 or 3, maybe 4 views showing. And also it's probably going to be a little dependent on how many or how large your screen is too, if you want to be able to see a bit more information. Oftentimes, if I'm maybe working in a discipline, let's say plumbing, for instance, I might show a section view and a plan view. So I could be working in one or the other, and I can see what is happening as I work in one within the other view as well. The other option that Revit introduced a couple of years ago was the multi-screen option. Before, you could only place views within your viewing area, but now you're able to actually drop and drag it over to a secondary screen. So when you have multiple views, you can grab onto the little tile up at the top in your Revit and just simply drag it over to your other screen, and you can maximize 2 views utilizing multiple screens. Now, I don't have 3 screens. I'm going to assume that it's possible to have it on more than 2. So you might want to try that out on your own if you have 3 screens available, and just simply drop and drag those over there. So it gives you a little bit more real estate, but also might make your neck a little bit sore from looking back and forth at each of those views. The other item is closing out views that are not active. Again, a lot of people will tend to open up views and they kind of forget about those, and you just kind of add more and more and more views. Depending upon your computer speed, you might start to see a little bit of a slowdown within Revit if you have too many views. So if you go up to the top in your access toolbar, quick access toolbar, you have an option to close out the inactive views. Remember, it doesn't close out of your project. It doesn't get rid of any of your changes that you've made in any of those views. As long as you have one view open in your project, everything is stored within that project. So when you save it, it will save everything within there. All right. So developing views in a project. So when you're starting out within Revit, obviously it's important to understand how to go in and create new views. Within Revit, you have the Views tab, and what you can do in there, you have options to go and create multiple types of views, brand new views from scratch. You can select the floor plans, reflected ceiling plans, elevation sections, details, 3D views. So those are all different options that you can go in and create new views for. Another option that you have, if you have the CTC Express tools, you do have a view creator tool that gives you an option to go in and create multiple views at a time. So that can be a big time saver over just using the out of the box creation of Revit for the floor plans or reflected ceiling plans. So we see this utilized a lot, especially if you have a number of levels for a project. It can very quickly and easily develop those views for you. The other thing is, after you've created some of these views, a lot of times you want to have those same type of views, but you might want to show something a little bit different within them. And that's where duplicate views come into play. And you typically have you have 3 different options for duplicate views. You can just simply duplicate the view, which when you use that, it duplicates it, but it doesn't bring any annotation over, which is what a lot of people will do, because if you're creating a new view, you typically want to show different type of details, different annotation anyway. So the duplicate view is, again, the one that most people use. If you use the duplicate view with detailing, then it will bring over all the same exact annotation and give you an exact duplicate of that. You also have what are called dependent type views. And dependent views don't necessarily create a copy of it, but what it does is it allows you to go in and start using match lines. And this is going to be typically for your larger square footage type buildings, where if you try to put the entire floor plan on, let's say, a D size or an E size sheet, it still doesn't fit on there. It's just way too large. So a user would have to go in and create a dependent view, and you actually create multiples of these, and you go in and crop down to the area that you want to show for each of these dependent views. And you go in and place those views on different sheets. You have a decent scale that is viewable. And what you do with what's called the parent view shows everything within that floor plan. You can do all of your work within there, even go in and do annotations, and it basically cycles down to these dependent views or the child type views. So those are your different options for those duplicate type options. The last thing, again, I want to touch on it is, again, setting the view templates. I do think that is a very critical aspect of Revit to keep your drawings, your views consistent. So when you do go in and develop each of these new types of views, it's a great idea to go in and apply a view template to it right away. So what you're doing is you are applying the company's settings to that view right away. So you know that what is going to be on that view is going to be correct as far as the objects that are being displayed and how they're being displayed within that view. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to do all the design work for you. That one is still on you. But it's not going to show light fixtures on an HVAC plan, because we've got a view template that's assigned as an HVAC type view template. So it's going to show those types of items within there. a couple of questions to ask. Kind of, I guess, getting away from the developing views, but questions that may be asked are, what is a better option to pre-create a number of views in a template or a starter project, or build them up as you go? What I mean by that is, if you have a really base type template, and as you open up a project, you look at, what kind of specs we're going to need for this project, and you go in and start adding all these new views into them. So obviously there are some benefits, and there's some, I guess, negatives, positive negatives about doing either one. Personally, I like to pre-create views in a template. Again, dealing with a number of companies over the years, developing a lot of templates for companies over the years, I've found being able to go in and pre-create the views tends to save more time for a company. Let's say you're an architecture firm, and you may do buildings up to 8 stories. Okay, well, I may go in and create 8 levels, and go in and create floor plans for all those 8 levels, and reflected ceiling plans. And I might go in and develop sheets, a sheet set, and develop them for all of those different types of floor plans. But let's say I start a new project and it's 3 levels. Okay, well, what I can do then is, when I pop into this starter project and start beginning with it, I can go in and just simply delete those levels out of the project. Okay, so what happens when I go in and delete those levels? It's going to come up with an error message, but it's one of those good error messages. It's telling you that when I delete out levels 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 out of the project, it's going to go in and remove all these floor plans, all these reflected ceiling plans, anything that's associated to levels 4 through 8. So it's going through there and kind of cleaning up that for me when I go in and delete out those levels. So I don't technically delete the views, I delete levels, and it does that for me, and obviously shortens up that list within the project browser. So again, I see that as being more of a benefit to pre-creating those. Now, also building them up as you go. Again, if you have the CTC Express tools and have the view creator, you do have the option to utilize that to quickly and easily develop new views within a project as well. So again, positive, negatives about either one. If you don't have the Express tools, I would probably say to pre-create those, create them up to the types of buildings that you develop, instead of building them up as you go, because it does take a bit of time to set up all of those types of views within a project. Obviously, the other thing that you have to look at is who you're dealing with, as far as other people on the project, other companies that you're working with. You may have to go in and change the numbering system. If another company is leading the project, you probably have to follow a bit of their standards. So there might be a little bit of modification with that as well. Again, obviously the size of your project is going to come into play as well. Maybe all you do is single or 2-story buildings, those might be an option to just build them up as you go as well. A couple other things is adding phasing or adding design options to it. Typically those things you want to kind of hold off on until you start the project. Those aren't typically items that you can have pre-created, because you don't always know what the phasing is going to involve, or also the design options and what kind of options that are going to be set for a particular project. All right, so how can we manage our views better? So this obviously starts out with the project browser, obviously where we see our all of our views for a project. As I mentioned to a lot of people in training, the project browser is the brains of our project, and we have to get our brain working properly and organized so that we kind of know what we're doing, and we can move around within that brain of Revit here. So with the project browser, a lot of people don't know, but we do have an option where we can organize the project browser, and we can go in and set this the way that you want to be able to see it. A lot of companies will go in and set up specific browser organization for a project to start. It doesn't mean it has to remain that way. We can go in and change the browser organization depending upon the situation that we're in. We have 3 different options here of items that we can go in and organize. Obviously, a lot of people will go in and organize the views, possibly set it on disciplines, sub-disciplines, and then maybe view types. Then we have sheets. We obviously want to organize our sheets typically by number and name. Disciplines obviously can come into play there as well. We can also go in and add shared parameters or project parameters to define the order of our sheets. So we'll see a lot of companies that want to do that as well. We also have an option that we can organize schedules, and we typically see this a bit more on the MEP side because MEP has typically the most schedules. Architecture, probably not as many, so it isn't as critical to organize the schedules. So those are some of our different options there to go in and organize those. So what can we do here with the project browser? Kind of funny whenever I go through training, people always ask, can I just drop and drag a view to a location in the project browser? No, we can't. That would be I almost feel it would be too easy, but it also feels like it would kind of make a mess of the project browser. Obviously, we want to have a bit more control over how views are sorted out within the project browser. The main obviously is the type of view. Obviously, we can't really change a type of view. You can't change a ceiling plan to a elevation or a section cut. A view is a view, a ceiling plan is a ceiling plan, an elevation is an elevation. So it's going to be sorted that way. But obviously, again, the view templates and properties, setting what discipline or sub-discipline that view is going to play a big part in where it's located within the project browser. Also, again, browser organization is key, and with the little image that I have here, you can see at the very top where it says views advanced. Advanced is a scheme that is set for this browser organization. So I'm going to pop into Revit here shortly, and we'll go through some of those points here. But again, we can go in and change that to a different browser organization depending upon how you want to look at your project browser as you're working. Showing views that are not on sheets is an option when you utilize the project or browser organization. This is a nice feature to be able to flip on and off, just so you can see and verify that the views that you have within your project are accounted for and are on sheets. It's also another nice way to be able to locate views that maybe you want to go in and delete in the end as well. Maybe they're just kind of a couple quick section cuts to verify something and you kind of left them and forgot about them. And it allows you to go in and remove those views out of the sheet. We also have the option to collapse and expand views. So when you go up to the top here, or actually click on any one of the items within the project browser, you have the option to collapse or expand. And you can expand just certain aspects of it. You can expand the entire project browser, see everything that's within that list if you want. I tend to use it a lot if I've got a good sized project, a lot of items open, and it's like, okay, I just kind of need to start over. I'll just collapse the whole thing and kind of click down to where I want to be able to see items within there as well. The other thing that we have that a lot of people don't know about in the project browser is being able to search for views. So if you have a lot of views within a project and it's like, okay, where is that view at? You can just simply right click in the project browser and you can click on search and start typing something from the name of the view that you want to access. And it isn't just views, it's anything in the project browser. So if you're looking for a specific family in the browser, just start typing the name of it in, or a couple words there, and you can click next and it'll cycle through all the items that have that word or phrase in it. And you can be able to find those items a little bit easier within there. So I use that a lot when I'm searching for stuff within there. We also have the option where we can go in and create new views in the project browser. If you've never done that before, let's say if you go down to schedules, you can right click on schedules. It's going to give you all the different types of schedules that you can go in and create. And you don't have to go up to the view, click on schedules, click the drop down. You just do that directly within the project browser. All right. Next, what about removing your views? So I've kind of touched on it a few times, trying to locate views within there. So when do you remove views out of your project? You know, I mentioned earlier, if you know the specs on your project, you know how many levels are on a project. And if you got a starter project that has more levels than you actually need, you may want to go in and just delete those levels out that you're not going to use. And it's going to go in and remove those views from your project. It will ask you if you want to remove those. So it's not going to do them automatically. It's just going to ask you, do you want to remove these? Are you sure you want to remove them? Click yes, and it's going to remove them out of that particular project. Also, you know, when you're getting closer to the end of a project, again, utilizing the option to show all not on sheets, that may again be where you want to go in and delete some of those views out of the project as well. Other times when to remove, you know, if you are doing some of those sections as you are checking your work, and you know, you just click a couple points, go and create a section cut or maybe a quick elevation. You kind of verify things of looking correct there. Once you're done with that, go in and delete that out. A lot of times I see people just leave it in there and they just continue to create more and more of those. The other thing that I see a lot of is creating camera views. Camera views can really increase the file size of your project. So it's a handy tool to use camera tools. But if you're just using it to check it, once you're done with it, delete that 3D view out. If there are any camera views that you want to retain, what I tell people is go in and give it a name that is relevant to the project. relevant to what you are looking at, so it does not get removed. If we see 3D view 1, 2, 3 up to 90, that means you have way too many camera views. That is going to make the file size that much larger. I was asked a question about, just having more views. Does it increase the file size? It's going to increase the file size depending upon what you have within that view. Again, kind of going back to that 3D view, if you're showing a 3D view, you're showing a lot of geometry within that 3D view. So that's what kind of eats at the file size. Now, if you have a lot of plan views, elevations, sections, those are going to be typical. I mean, you need to have those within your project. It's going to slightly increase as you go. There's nothing you can really do to avoid that. But again, you want to get rid of views that you don't want to have, that you're not going to utilize. Some of the views that you have may be more internal reference. What I mean by that is maybe it's a view that doesn't necessarily go on a sheet, go out to the contractors, but you may have some views that you have data in that is more internal information that you want your team to have access to. So, those are views that you're not going to remove. So, so are the views relevant? Again, getting back to that, if it's going on a sheet, it's relevant. If it's internal information, it's relevant. If you're creating 3D views to present to the client, those are going to be relevant. The other thing that I also see that can help with views is if you have all of your details. If you have your detail library, your company's detail library in your starter project, don't do that. What you can possibly do is if you have details that you use for every single project, those are views that you could have in your starter project, but don't have your entire company library of details in your starter project. Instead, go in and create a detail project that has all of your details in them and load details from that project into your active project when you're ready to do that. And it's also better to wait on that as well, because obviously you start adding more information into it, but you're not going to really be accessing it too often within the project. So hold off on adding a bunch of additional views into the project. Let's see here. All right, well, let's pop into Revit here. So I've got a couple projects here, and I have our MEP Productivity Pack starter project. So if any of you have the Productivity Pack, you've probably seen this before. Again, it is for MEP, but this could be for any discipline. Obviously, looking at views within a project. If you have opened up the Productivity Pack fresh from ATG, new purchase, and you pop this open and you are like, wow, there's a lot of views in here. It is a bit overwhelming. If I go and expand all of the views in here, you'll see that as I scroll down, we have a long list of views here. and I'm still not done yet. So I can go down quite a ways here. There we go. Now we're in, I think we're into the families there. So pretty close to halfway down the list here till we get to families. So everything above here is related to views and sheets, and it is just overwhelming. But a couple things that I mentioned while working in here. As you can see that this template, this starter project, again, this could be an architecture or a structure starter project. You know, maybe it's a 2-level type project. You can see here that we have going from basement to 8th floor and have a roof within here. And we've got this set up for a number of different analysis type plans within here for each discipline. You know, we scroll down a bit further, we have demolition plans, we've got plumbing plans. You know, we've got each of the different disciplines. If you are strictly electrical or HVAC or plumbing, obviously those teams can remove those types of views out of the project. The first thing that I would do with a project like this is, you know, you look at the scope of the project, you find out how many levels are within it, and I would go to one of the project setup type views. So as I mentioned in the project browser, I want to go to the project setup, but I don't want to have to scroll and find that. I'm going to go ahead and right click and go down here to my search, and I'm going to just type in project setup. So when I do that, I can go ahead and click on next here, and it's going to go down to the project setup area here. So we basically have an area just for that. And we've got a number of different project setups for each of those different levels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my levels or my sections here so I can see my levels. So I'm just going to go to my horizontal, and you can see all these different levels within here. With the productivity pack, we even got all these reference planes in here for attaching light fixtures or diffusers. So if it's let's say it's a 2-story building, I don't need 3 through 8 here. So I'm just going to go in and window select those guys, click on delete, and it's going to tell me, oh, I'm going to delete out 702 elements and 288 views. I don't know if I've created 288 views in a project before, but that's an awful lot of views. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK here and give it a little bit of time here because it's deleting a whole lot of stuff out of my project, but it is also cleaning up my project browser. And as I mentioned, you know, every view that you have, obviously it's going to take a little bit of space out of your project as far as the project size goes. So we are cleaning up that information within there. We have a bunch of scope boxes in here too. I'd probably delete out those as well. So get rid of those guys. And I'm probably going and set up my roof to the correct height here. I'm just going to go ahead and move that down. Just get it a little bit more oriented there. All right, close enough. And I think these are just the linked models here. So those are fine. So now when I go back up to the top here, you can see how much more scaled back this is. We can see that it's a lot easier to go in and look at these views now, kind of scroll through them. We're just seeing the views that we have according to the levels. If you are, you know, again, specifically to a discipline, you know, if you're, let's say, just dealing with HVAC, okay, well, I might keep the analysis here for energy HVAC, but I come down here and I go and click on my lighting. I go in and start deleting lighting out of there. You know, if I'm not dealing with the plumbing aspect, I can go in and highlight those and delete those out of there. So as a, you know, possibly a project manager or organizer, you're initially setting up this for your team to work in. So you're going in here and you're going in and removing some of these views depending upon which productivity pack that you have, so that you get these views set up for each of the individual users for the project. So just highlighting each group of these and just using my delete key and removing each of those out of there. So I basically continue that process until I get this, the views set the way that I want to. Now, if I do scroll down to, you can see we got 3D views here. Those are views that you may want to get rid of as well. If you're using Navisworks, you obviously want to get rid of some of the views that, again, are not pertain to your discipline. Always keep the project set up in a project. For the non-MEP productivity pack, these are actually good ones to set up within a template as you are going in and doing a lot of your setup, linking in external files, other disciplines, Revit models, AutoCAD drawings, whatever you need, going in and setting those up. Also the different crop areas that you want as well. So you want to go and create those scope boxes within there and define some of those areas, like restrooms or mechanical, electrical room type instances there. Question comes up about working type views. So in our productivity pack, I push this even for people that don't have the productivity pack, is to develop working type views. These are views where this is where you do all of your design work in. You're able to have a little bit more, I'd say, functionality, more capabilities within the working type views. Up at the top of the list, we have more of the construction type views. Somewhere in here, there's coordination. But construction views are typically going to be the ones that are going to be placed on sheets. Construction views are typically where you want to go in and add your annotation. Working views are typically where you're going to want to do all of your 3D design work within. You can obviously show things a little bit differently within a working type view over a construction document type view. What I determine a construction document type view to be is, again, the view that gets placed on a sheet, and it is also set to the way that your company has their standards, how you want to look at items within there. All right, so someone just asked, where can we get a productivity pack? Well, that is something that we at ATG do sell. It is specifically for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and it has all of the settings within it. If you do have some questions on that, you can contact me directly. And I can kind of put you in touch with a salesperson on that. But it is actually the only one of its kind in the States here. There actually aren't any other resellers that have a productivity pack like this. There's been, I'd say, roughly about 30,000 hours of man time put into developing this productivity pack, because it has, again, all these views set up for you, all the view templates, a lot of different families, schedules, the whole works there. Also, if you're interested, I have done a couple documents on the MEP productivity pack as well, relating to the disciplines. So if you want to look at more information on what the productivity pack is compared to what you get from out of the box, great white papers to look at on the ATG website. Another quick question that came in about aligning views and view titles on MEP sheets to the same location as views on selected sheets in a linked architectural model. Any experience with using Dynamo to do something like this? It is possible to create a Dynamo script that works like that. I would not consider myself to be a Dynamo expert, but we do have some people on staff that can create a script that can do something like this. Yeah, for me, it seems like there should have been some kind of a tool to help with this process for years. I don't know why Revit hasn't done something like this. A lot of times what I do is I'll go in and create a couple reference planes in a title block and load that into the project. So then obviously the reference planes show on all of the sheets that are in the project, and I can go in and place the views according to those reference planes. That's been the best way that I've been able to find it, kind of a way that you can do it right out of the box without any Dynamo scripts. So hope that helps. Otherwise, again, we might be able to help with a Dynamo script involving that as well. Oops. All right, getting back here to Revit. Let's see, a couple other items here. Just simply removing views out of a project. So I was just simply deleting views. So I was just holding down my shift key and just hitting my delete on my keyboard. You can right click and choose to delete as well if you want to remove views out of there. If you're going in and setting up new views, if let's say, let me go down here to a floor plan type view. Lots of views in here. All right, I'm just going to take this working power plan 01 view here. And I did mention something about creating new views and duplicating views. So in a project like this, where you do have a lot of views already set up, you're not really going to create a whole lot of new views other than maybe some section cuts or elevations. But if you're wanting to create new reflected ceiling plans or floor plan type views, what you can do is you can go in and right click on a view, and we have the option here to go in and duplicate. And we have the 3 different options that I mentioned earlier. The duplicate is one that people use a lot. If I do that, it's going to go in and create a view with copy 1 on the back end of it. And if you want, then you can go in and right click and rename, and you can give it a new naming convention. You can go and get rid of the copy 1, and again, try to keep the standardization of how you do or how you develop your family or your view naming conventions the same. If I go back to the duplicate view, I also mentioned the dependent view. This is one that you would use for, again, floor plans that are pretty large in square footage. And again, when you try to place a regular floor plan view on a sheet, it just does not fit. So if you use a duplicate as dependent, you'll see it actually comes in a little bit different. The original working power plan 01 is the parent view. This one here is the dependent view. And when you go and create this dependent view, if I zoom out here, you'll see that it creates a box around the view there. And what it allows you to do is basically go in and crop around the area that you want to show for that view. And you're typically going to go in and create at least a couple dependent views within here. So if I go in and click on this one and we go about halfway distance for that, we'll flip to the other one here and I can go in and grab this side. So now we have two separate views there, but we go to the parent view, we can see everything within there. And that is where we typically do all of the work. So if we do anything within here, it's going to basically come down to the dependent views and show on there. All right, can views be managed with work sets and design options for use and visibility as well? So a lot of questions in one question there. So you can't necessarily assign a view to a work set and design options. When you go in and create a new view with design options, obviously you can control what is seen in that view, but your work sets are not going to be attached to design options. So those are going to be two different types of things within there. So no, views cannot be managed with the work sets. So if I tried to turn off a work set, it's not going to turn off a bunch of views within my project browser. Now, the other thing that you can do though, if I scroll up, remember we do have the browser organization within here. So up at the very top of your project browser, it says views, view classification, all disciplines. So if I right click on that and choose browser organization, you can see this is, again, what we have in the MEP productivity pack. So this one has some additional ones in it, but we can go in and change our view classification to show only the types of views that we want in here. So for HVAC, if I only wanted to see that, I could check this box here, click OK, and you would see that the views now only show mechanical. Now, electrical still in there. They just are not being able to be seen within the project browser. So potentially, if you wanted to use this for design options, you could set up some type of a view classification for design options. So when you want to go in and create a new one, you plug in a name there. I'll go ahead and click on discipline here. When I click on edit, we could choose the filter options to filter out only to be able to see certain types of views. And then we have the grouping and sorting option within here. So this is how we're looking at the project browser. So we're looking at first the discipline. We're looking at the view classification. We're looking at the family, the subdiscipline, and sorting it out by the view name. And that's the last sorting that we have within there. So when you see each of these, tree type views here, we got our views, analysis, floor plans, energy, and then the views. That's what we're looking at for each of our groupings within here. So when you click in the drop down here, you're going to see all the different ways that you can go in and organize your project or your browser organization. And if you're getting into this for the first time, what you would probably want to do is start out with a new one. Possibly take a look at one of the existing ones and see how it looks as far as the grouping and sorting. See how it is in its current state. And when you're going in and creating a new one, you can go in and test it out. See what happens when you plug in a certain category as you're going in and developing your browser organization. As you can see here with the productivity pack, we have them set up by view classification. So if I go to the mechanical here, click on edit, you can see discipline not equal to electrical. So that means that all these views in the productivity pack are obviously discipline specific. So if a view has that discipline set as electrical, it is not going to show it within this project browser. So I could flip it over to the electrical. We're going to see, just the opposite. We're not going to see mechanical. We're also not going to see plumbing or HVAC. So this one actually has it expanded out a little bit further to show some additional items, or to not show some additional items within there. You can see for the grouping and sorting, this one's set up a little bit different as well. This one is grouped by the view classification, and then family, and then subdiscipline, and then the view name. So a lot of ways that you can go in and sort out your project browser. The other one that I mentioned in the PowerPoint is the not on sheets. This one is one that is in default Revit right out of the box. So when you go in and click on that, click OK, it's going to list out all the views that currently do not reside on a sheet. So if you don't have any sheets set up, you're going to see all of your views in there. But if you're coming to the end of the project, you're getting ready to submit, you may want to click on that and just kind of do a double check to make sure that all the views that you intend to have on sheets are on sheets by using that. So again, it's just a quick come up here, right click, browser organization, flip it to not on sheets. When you're done with that, you can just flip it back to what it was originally within there. Click OK, and now we're back to the way it was before. All right, let's see here. Doesn't look like I have any other questions. If does anybody else have any other questions before we wrap this up? Otherwise, a few things we took a look at. Understanding what we can do with a view, developing views in a project. Talked a little bit about the duplication of views. Learn how to manage the views within a project. We took a look at the project browser, some things that you can do within there. We also went in and removed views, talked about when we can remove views within a project. All right, so I'm going to throw my information out here. So I know there were some questions asking about the MEPP productivity pack. If you do have any questions on that, you can either contact me, Philip Charlson, got my email address on there. If you have a sales rep that you deal with at ATG, you can also contact them. We also have our 1-800 number here to contact sales, or our sales email. All I can say about that productivity pack is if I would have been working with that for years, it would have saved me a lot of time. And I know it would save you all a lot of time if you don't have the productivity pack right now, because it can add a lot of productivity to your everyday use if you are using mechanical, electrical, or plumbing within a project for Revit. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time, and look for my next webinar next month. I'm actually going to be going through what is in the box. What does that mean? It is what is actually in the MEPP productivity pack. So that will be a fun one to do, and we'll dig into that and actually see what you get in that productivity pack.